Hello, and welcome to Off the Record live on Twitch or on the internet. I am Joe Vito, and today we have the pleasure of being joined by Raleigh Keegan.
Hey, Joe.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Excited to be on Twitch with you. Twitching.
Yes, we are twitching. We're twitching. We will not be playing any video games today, but we will be playing music. We'll also be talking about music. Riley's going to be answering all sorts of questions, including your questions at home if you're tuning in. Also, if you're tuning in, I am just absolutely morally obligated to demand that you subscribe to our channel. Do we have a goal these days, Michael, of what we're trying to hit?
We're trying to hit like 100 more followers.
Like 100 more. So
Let's go.
If you and 99, if you're friends, or start messaging people. But if you're watching and you enjoyed the content, please be sure to subscribe. We love bringing this content to you. And today we're bringing it to you from 3 Sirens in East Nashville, which is a really beautiful, cool space. We were just talking about how fun it would be to live in a studio like this and be able to know how it all works too. When I walk around, I see like gear in here and I'm like, oh, wow, that looks so fancy.
If only I could use that.
Yeah. Well, today we got Riley here and we're gonna be talking about his new record, Clocks Roll Forward, which came out this past October. It kind of tells your life story in a really cool way. It's this awesome blend of country music with just like solid songwriting, but like, I don't want to say pop melody in that it sounds like modern pop, but like pop melody, like we were talking about, like it's almost like if the Beatles were like, we're gonna make a country album, is what it sounds like to me. And so it's so cool. I'm excited to dive into it. But first, we're gonna dive into the icy waters of conversation with some icebreakers.
That was good.
Thank you.
Yep.
Are you a night owl or an early bird?
Early bird.
Do you prefer calling or texting?
Texting 100%.
100%.
Like, absolutely.
Are you like the kind of person you don't even want to get a call? You get a call, you're going to let it go.
Like,
to
I'm the type of
voicemail?
person that says, can I call you later? I click the button.
Yeah, get out of here,
I click the button, freak out. Like, yeah, that's what I am. Unless it's like my wife.
Okay.
Can't do that.
Makes sense. Yeah,
I've learned.
A good lesson, yes, I'm sure. You learned that one the expensive way.
That's right.
Do you use emojis when you text?
Sometimes.
What's your most frequently used emoji?
The skull. The skull
skull?
The skull where you're like dead laughing. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
great.
It's pretty gnarly.
Wow, it is gnarly.
Gnarly.
Yeah, you know, no one's ever said that they use the same emoji, which I'm fascinated by. All these everyone's using different emojis.
What do
unique
they
language.
normally say?
Well, they say
Hard
different
eyes?
ones every time. They say sometimes the rolling laughing. The rolling laughing is different than the regular crying laughing.
I like
and
the
I
crying
noticed
one.
there's kind of a difference there where like you can tell that like I think Jelly Roll used the rolling laughing one, which you know there's something there about that.
Yes.
Okay, remote or in person?
Remote.
Remote.
When it comes to like writing and stuff, here's why I like remote. There's no pressure. Like if we don't get a song, we're sitting in our houses.
Yeah, that's true.
But
yeah.
it's not like I dislike in person.
Oh, yeah.
I hate humans. You know.
Yeah.
No.
Oh yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, do you find like even in general, just like having that space to be able to write and to be able to not force something allows for like more authenticity to like kind of rise up, or something that feels more urgent?
The only time I ever get something good personally is when I'm free. Like when I feel the freedom to like make mistakes or like throw out something that's stupid. Like if I don't feel that freedom in a room, I'm gonna be confined into a box, and I just don't thrive in that.
Yeah.
Some people under pressure though just kill it, and I'm just not like that. I need to like have freedom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool. Yeah, kind of that like Tin Pan Alley versus
Correct.
the kind of approach
That's
all of this
right.
going on.
That's right.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, if you had a time machine, would you go to the future or to the past?
Definitely the past.
The past. What part of the past?
Where the internet didn't exist. Sorry, Twitch.
Sorry, Twitch.
Kidding. No, I say that because earlier before we were talking about how I felt like I was born in the wrong era. Like I felt like I would really fit in with like Jackson Browne and the Eagles, and
yes.
if I was born then too. That would have been fun. So I would say go back.
Yes, absolutely. I feel the same. And also, I mean,
There was still air conditioning.
I know we're on the internet, but let me tell you, internet, you got some things to figure out. It's not all there yet. Okay. We talked about this before the show, but we didn't dive into the weeds, and so I'm very excited to dive into the weeds now. What's your smoothie of choice? You're a smoothie fan almost every day
Fanatic.
for a period. A fanatic of smoothies. Mm-hmm. What's the smoothie rundown?
Okay, so you need to get a 32-ounce Gladiator with chocolate protein, with bananas, blueberries, and you need to add peanut butter. You're welcome.
Whoa!
You are welcome.
You got that down to a science. Yes.
Well,
the
yeah.
Smoothie King science.
I am the smoothie king.
The Smoothie King.
One time in a podcast, I drank like 80 ounces of Smoothie King in 20 minutes because it was just like we were just trying to go viral.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you get that same smoothie every time, or do you like to switch it up?
I used to switch it up, but like today, I went today, and I did switch it up today. But that's normally what I would get. Is the Gladiator.
That's amazing. I'm a personal fan of the greens and ginger. But now I got to try this Gladiator.
You're gonna bulk up, bro.
I know. I'm gonna get.
You were just gonna get jacked immediately.
I will. I'm gonna grow like
4
a foot.
inches.
It's gonna be amazing. I'm gonna be unstoppable at that point. Okay. Are you a coffee drinker?
Oh yes.
How do you take your coffee?
Black.
Black.
And I like to order my beans because I'm a diva.
Okay, yeah. What kind
and
of beans?
I like to do pour overs.
Oh yeah.
In the mornings.
That's the way to do it.
Grind up my own beans and stuff. But from all over. I like to order it from all over. And
Do you have any particular?
I'm always on the quest for the world's best cup of coffee.
That's a good quest.
Trying to find the best beans in the world. Now.
Wow.
But then sometimes like I'm on a budget and I just order the cheapest from Amazon. So it just depends on where we're at.
That's the ebbs and flows of life. That's how it goes. Well, I wish you luck on your journey. Oh my gosh, you got to keep us updated on that. All right, flying or road trips?
Ooh, road trips.
Road trips.
Road trips.
Yeah, I feel that. What's like a go-to road trip song for you?
Ooh. These Days by Jackson Browne.
That's a great road trip song.
Great road trip song.
Yes, in fact, yeah. For Every Man is a great road trip album.
Yes.
The whole record.
Great
You
record.
go through it. You get Redneck Friend. You get For Every Man. You get all these great tunes. I similarly, me personally, I feel like the Eagles is classic road tripping music.
Agreed.
Put on Take It Easy.
One of These Nights.
The wheels got to hit the road. Oh, One of These Nights.
Yep.
Come on. It makes you feel like you got to be going down like a desert highway. Wow. All right. I like this one. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, or snacks?
How about all of them?
All food.
I would have to say dinner. Like dinner to me is the focal point.
Yeah, I
Even though I
agree.
love breakfast food too. On the road, my band and I really like to try to find the best breakfast place. And yeah, so we love doing that. But I would say for me, like dinner's the focal point.
If you're trying out breakfast places, do you have like a go-to order to test
every
at
single
every place?
Yep.
What's your breakfast
A
order?
sausage omelet with peppers and onions.
Oh, that sounds very
And
good.
with the home fried potatoes. And I get it everywhere I went. And ladies and gentlemen, the best in the world is at a place called Yolk in Chicago.
Yolk in Chicago.
You're welcome. Once again.
Shout out Yolk in Chicago. Oh my gosh. Well, we're gonna have to bring you back on the show and we'll get a sponsorship from them. They'll
That's
send
right,
us
yeah,
some
yeah.
omelets. And we'll eat them.
Sounds awful.
Yeah, straight from the mail. Yeah. Okay. If you were a baseball player, what would your walk-on song be?
Ooh. That song by P.D. Pablo that's like, North Carolina, just because I need something to hype me up. And that just first thing I could think of.
Yeah, that's right on. I'm in for it. Okay, what was the first music you ever bought with your own money? Whether it's like a CD or like a record or single or
I
something.
bought Continuum by John Mayer.
Oh, there you go.
Yep, first ever record.
Wow, yeah. And like we were talking about before we started taping too, that was a big part of how you learned to sing, right?
Oh, yeah. That was the only record I had in my car in high school for 2 years.
Oh, yes.
And I bumped it. Man, I wore that thing out.
The high school car CD.
Is
A
important.
special kind of relationship with music that
does.
you can't recreate.
That's
ever.
right.
And when you're in high school, you barely know. You don't know that you're going to end up having this like
Yep.
attachment to that CD, but then years go on, and if you're like me, you go back and you listen to Mac DeMarco, and you're like, wow, I'm in high school again. Or
Yep.
John Mayer. Wow,
Yep.
there you go. Well, okay, similarly, and this is our last icebreaker question. What was the first concert you ever went to?
Ooh, John Mayer.
John Mayer. Oh, that wasn't even planned,
In 07.
folks.
That was not planned. And John, I love you. I'm kidding.
John, come on.
No, yeah, that was my first concert too. That was life-changing for me too.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
I was like very inspired, even young. I was young, and I was like, golly, I got to do that. I don't even know. And it wasn't until later that I did it, but yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. That was on like the Continuum tour, right?
Continuum tour.
Yeah, that sounds incredible.
It was.
Wow. Well, we have broken the ice. We have plunged into the icy depths. Before we dive into our conversation proper, I want to check with the wonderful Catherine to see if we have any chat questions that we want to throw.
Hey, Joe. We do have a question or two if you're ready for one.
All right, let's take it.
So since we've been talking about drinks, smoothies, coffee, everything, the fans want to know, what is your favorite coffee house in Nashville?
That's a tough question. There's
That
a lot
is
of coffee
super
house
tough.
politics in this town.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to say Red Bicycle.
That's a great one.
I love the vibe of
Yes.
that place.
Absolutely.
But I like them all. That's the problem, my friends. I like them all. This morning I went to Caliber Coffee. Shout out to them. That was good.
I've never been. That sounds great.
Yeah. I've been to all of them. So
You're
I'll give you some-
searching for the cup of perfect coffee.
Yes,
yeah.
I am.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Well, shout out to that. Shout out to whoever sent that question in. I wanted to know that. I'm glad that I know that he goes to the Red Bicycle now. Because now when I go there, I'll feel a little bit cooler.
That's right.
So let's get into talking about you and your artistry and everything that led to this new record. And I kind of want to pick up where we just left off at the end of the Icebreakers, which is your childhood and your younger years, and kind of get an idea of how you first came to music and started playing music to begin with. I know that you were adopted when you were just a few days old.
Mm-hmm.
You ended up becoming a part of a large extended family. You were the only person who kind of took to music.
Yep.
What was the story? What was that like?
Oh, it's wild, yeah. So I was like you said, I was adopted. Mom had me while she was in prison, and was adopted into a massive family in Cincinnati. Like I've like 60 something cousins now.
All
I
right.
literally don't know all the babies' names.
How could you?
And that's embarrassing. If my family's watching this,
Oh, no.
they're gonna be like,
Change channels and then come
Change the
right
channel,
back.
come right back.
back.
Yeah, and I was like, as early on, I had this kindergarten teacher who had a piano in his room, and he told my parents that I would go over to the piano. I don't remember this at all, but that I would go over to the piano and start playing things a kindergartner shouldn't know how to play. And so they told my parents that, and my parents were like the type of people who would do anything for me and my brother. So they drove like almost 8 hours up to Michigan because they found this free piano. Drove it back in a minivan,
Wow.
and they got me my first piano, and kind of that's where it started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And so once you kind of got on that, how did you kind of start? Did you take lessons at first and start kind of like developing like a musical vocabulary of how to like navigate
I
that?
took lessons for a little bit, and then I started. This is funny because I always say that I'm like a football player, or I'm a musician trapped in a football player's body. So like I was like I played jazz in high school, and I was first chair jazz trombone in the state of Ohio in high school. And so, but I was like a secret because I was like on the football team, and like I was like trying to hide that part about me. I was like, I was a
really?
secret nerd, absolute secret. But I would leave lunch early to go practice my trombone for fun.
That's
While all the
amazing.
popular kids were sitting there. Yeah.
Now, how do you feel that having like a foundation in like trombone, which is not an instrument that usually like you have like, cowboy
Yep.
chord playing songwriters learning on, but I come from a classical background myself,
Yep.
and I know that learning that and like even just learning how to read sheet music and all that, you get that kind of theory foundation. Was that really helpful for you?
Super valuable, because I feel like that can make you really versatile. And I wouldn't change. We had a great teacher who just not even about theory, but just like the nuances of what makes music good
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff like that. I learned a lot about that, and man, I would say it's been super helpful, but sometimes in Nashville, like, you throw out a fancy chord and they're kind of like, man, what was that?
Oh, no.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it was helpful too, though, because even like going back to what we talked about at the top of the show of your specific brand of country music and how sometimes like the writing is more complex harmonically or melodically, or where you're going to go with a melody or how you're going to create tension is not always like in like the George Jones, Hank Williams
Yep.
model, and that's really cool to kind of know that backstory there.
Yeah.
Wow. So I know that you talked about how you kind of are like a musician stuck in a football player's body. Something in your bio that I thought was really interesting is that you do talk about how being involved in sports when you were younger was also really fundamental in developing your work ethic, which I'm sure has been wildly helpful in music in turn, right?
Yeah. I have the blessing and the curse of being probably the most competitive person on earth. And so that has always, even in sports, like, you know, you have to learn that, I don't know, in sports you learn that work ethic is everything, and then that just transfers over into life, and that's what I feel like the most valuable part of my sports career was for me, other than breaking my shoulder and leading me to music. Yeah.
Yeah, which I'm sure that was an important inciting
It was important.
incident.
It was important.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so picking up on kind of the story of your rise, you're playing trombone, you're playing piano, you're learning about music, you're developing this sense of artistry. When do you start writing songs?
Started writing, my first song I was probably 19, and in college I played football, and after practice I would go to the piano, and I would just start piddling around, and I wrote this song called Halfway Home, and it was like one of my first. I was missing home, and it was like new in college, and then after that, it was a bunch of heartbreak songs. This girl like perpetually broke my heart in college.
No!
It happens, bro.
You're getting the foundations.
You're getting
all
the foundations.
in. Yeah.
You got to get that
You're
heartbreak.
learning a lot of
You got to
lessons.
learn.
It's part of the curriculum.
Yeah, so I started writing songs then, and graduated from college. Did not really catch the bug until I heard a Zac Brown Band record, and I was smitten. I was like all about country music after that.
What was your relationship with country before that record?
So like I knew we'd listened to like Garth Brooks and some really pop like Dolly Parton and stuff at the house, but my relationship before that was more with like what I would call American music, like Tom Petty, James Taylor, Billy Joel, John Mayer type stuff. But country music really became my life then. I was just like smitten, man. I could not get away from it. And I started writing songs on my lunch breaks as a personal trainer in Lexington, Kentucky, and then put out some demos. They were awful, but they worked online to kind of build a little online fan base, and I really caught the bug. So my wife and I sold our house to pay for my first record here and moved here.
Wow.
Wow.
So before we even get to that part of your story, even when you start writing songs and kind of exploring that side of it, I mean, what was that like to start pouring yourself out into songs like that? And especially nowadays, the music you write and like this record, folks, if you haven't listened to it, you got to go check it out after this broadcast. But you put so much of yourself into the songs. When you first started writing, was that kind of a part of it? Did it arise as an extension of kind of like making sense of your world? Or was there a period of like kind of like focusing in on what you wanted your songs to sound like and what they were going to be like?
It's really funny. When I first started, I would say that I was writing, when you first start, you don't write good songs. I mean, I don't know anybody who's ever wrote a good song the first 100 songs they write. But my first times, it was very pure. It was really an extension of how I was feeling. None of it made sense. It wasn't like lyrically well crafted or anything. But moved to Nashville, and then when you move to Nashville and you don't know who you are yet, you start to, I would say, you play the game. You try to play the game a little bit, and that's the quickest way for me to not stand out and to kind of lose what makes you authentically you. So that took me about like 6. It was pretty quick, or I was just like, oh, you know what? I suck at selling something I don't like. So I really started. The only question I ask when I'm writing now is like, do I like this? The internal voice that's saying, do I like this line? Do I like this melody? Or do I not? That's all I listen to. Because if I listen to something else, like I lose that freedom we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Wow. And so you mentioned earlier that you sold your house to make the first record. And so obviously at some point in the midst of this, you must have like had was there like a leap of faith moment where you were like, I'm really going to follow this and I'm going to try to make this happen? And what was that moment like?
That moment was scary. I quit my job and we sold our house and moved here. And then all of a sudden I had to pay the bills with just music. And so I was like emailing, booking myself like, it was a moment of like panic because it was like, what are we going to do? Like we just made this huge leap and I was just like booking myself constantly, like emailing people 8 hours a day, you know, trying to get shows and stuff, and it worked out. But it was a wild, I remember sitting in my house in Lexington before we left and just crying, not thinking about, or I was like, what am I doing? Like I'm leaving the comfort of this life here. All of our friends were there. We had a great community of people there and did it all for this. So, but I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, I'm sure, like I said, a leap of faith. I'm sure it must have been, felt like that. Wow. Wow. Well, oh gosh, I just had a follow-up question that I was going to ask you. In my head, I thought it was so good. And now I'm searching for it. Oh, you were talking about, you moved. Well, you made a leap of faith. Oh! And when you made that leap of faith, I found it, folks.
Yeah.
Real pro right here. So you started booking yourself shows, and it did work out. I mean, you really started getting booked. I know that in the first 3 years you were playing, you had upwards of like 150 dates a year.
Yeah.
What was that period of doing the grind like? And I'm sure doing all that too, do you feel like really getting out there on the road? Really like testing this by just going in front of people, was that, I gotta imagine that forged you into a much more confident or like aware artist of how you're gonna work a crowd or what kind of songs work and what doesn't. Is that how it feels?
I think for anybody out there, there's just like no shortcut to learning how to interact with the crowd, win the crowd, and do it. But it was very forming. It was like, and also playing every night, you just get better. You know, you just get better at your instrument, get better at singing. So I wouldn't change any of that. But like you said, it was definitely a grind. Like the road is a hard place for people that don't know. It's so fun. Like the stage is, I would do that for free. It's the traveling too.
Yes.
That is the taxing part.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. So you made it to Nashville.
I made it to Nashville
in 2017, right? You start putting down your roots here. When did Clocks Roll Forward start really kind of coming together as a project? That's kind of originated in around 2019, right?
Yeah.
A few years later.
Yeah. So I think, like I said, I went through that journey of playing the game a little bit, and then like midway through 2018, I was just like, screw it. I'm gonna really hone in and write what I want to write and put out what I want to put out, and so I did. And I would say the songs were done by like mid 2019, and then we started in the studio November of 2019, and pandemic really slowed it down. But
I have to imagine.
Yeah, but we started then and finished like a year later, something like that.
Wow. Okay, so I know I keep kind of jumping around on the timeline a little bit, but you just said something that really piqued my interest, which was even once you got to Nashville, and even once you kind of got involved in the music industry, there was still like that, was that like another smaller leap of faith of even being like, I'm going to do my own thing, which all to the point, I'll tell you kind of what I'm thinking is, it sounds like a huge part of your story is being open to figuring out of like how it's going to make it work. And like being open to like, there's going to be changes along the way and I'm going to change directions, but you're still going to follow ultimately like your passion for the music.
That's exactly right. I would say like every artist that I look up to does that. Almost every, like all the legends we were talking about earlier, I feel like all of them do that. And that, you know, watching some of these documentaries over the quarantine was really crazy to see. Like the Eagles documentary, have you seen that?
Oh yeah, that one. That's an epic.
I mean, that's epic. That and the Tom Petty one are just so, wow, this is what I would die. Nowadays we don't do this, but I would die to be able to just spend 2 months in the studio and that's all I did, you know?
Yeah.
But we don't have that now.
No. But it is so cool hearing you kind of talk about that element of it. And even like I was watching an interview that you did a few weeks ago, and right around when the record came out in October, and you were talking about just kind of like your devotion and your drive and like, you know, elements of authenticity. And you said something that really struck me, which is, and I'm going to be airing your dirty laundry a little bit, but you mentioned on the interview that the day before this record came out, you were even thinking to yourself, like, am I the worst artist in the world? Like you were having that kind of doubt. And I was thinking about that because obviously you had already made the record and then you put it out and you're still doing this. And what occurred to me, and I want to ask and see if this is kind of how it feels to you, is that even in those moments where you might have personal doubt or be like, is this stupid or something, there's something that's making you still do it. And I feel like, is that the love for the music, the love for creating what you create?
Yeah, it's like, I think like it's really funny because my wife Shelby will know when I haven't written a song in a while.
Really?
Yeah, because it's like an expression. If I don't get it out, there's like something wrong. There's something. So for me, it's never been like this desire to get famous or rich or anything like that. It's always simply been like me connecting with music, and it's all been about the music for me since day one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so amazing. That's so beautiful. And like I said, folks, after this broadcast, go listen to the record because you can really hear that quality to it. I mean, there's like a palpable heart that's on these songs that you don't get from all music, even music that, you know, on the tongue, they'll say that they're embracing these things. I mean, sometimes you can really tell when you hear something if it has that heart behind it, and this really has that quality. Or, folks, if you want to hear some of his songs, all you got to do is stay tuned for a few minutes because we're about to go to an ad break. And when we get back from this ad break, Raleigh's going to be playing songs live on air. But before we get there, I want to ask one more question. And that's talking about this record. A huge part of it is that it kind of tells your story through a couple of different lenses over the course of your life and kind of how you came to be, everything we've been talking about so far. What was that like was there like a moment where you were like, I want this record to be like an introduction to myself? And then what was it like kind of approaching this project with that in mind?
I think part of my personality is that I want to be authentic. Like that's something, like if you've ever taken the Enneagram test, I'm a 4. So that's like one of the things that 4s really value is authenticity. So I wanted people to know me from this record, like even production choices, even song choices. I wanted them to know some of my influence. Like for example, the song Tell Me Something I Don't Know, like I snuck in a lot of jazz in that and you can't really tell, but there is a lot of jazz in that. Like I just wanted to be authentic and literally only listen to what do I like. And that's what I tried to do. So
yeah, well, like I said, folks, we're gonna go to an ad. We're gonna come back from the ad, and Raleigh's gonna play some of these songs, and you're gonna hear the authenticity yourself. I have no doubt it's gonna be awesome. And so, folks, stay tuned. Be sure to send in questions too if you got them, because we're gonna be asking them later on. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back to Off the Record Live. We are here in the wonderful Three Sirens in East Nashville. And joining us is the also wonderful Raleigh Keegan, who's going to be playing some songs for us.
that's right.
What's the first song you're going to play for us?
I'm going to play Way Back, which is the first song on the album.
What can you tell us about this tune?
This is a kind of a summer-ish jam that I don't hate. I'm kidding. No,
That's the best thing
it's
with
about
a song.
it's about young love and nostalgia and kind of remembering those sweet times we were talking about in high school.
Yes, your
you know?
high school CD.
Yeah, your high. This is my high school CD. This is like yeah.
Y'all, what did I say about the authenticity? You're going to be able to hear it.
That Pennsylvania fake ID worked at one store. They learned your made-up name and then stopped asking for it. We drive around till midnight kissing. Drop you off with the boys still hidden. We go way back to 17, throw back skipping through a CDC sling way back, thinking we had one more week. You and me, we were supposed to outgrow each other like a sunburns out each summer. We know those clocks roll forward, but somehow we always find a way back. We fell in love as much as you can when you're a kid. You moved away for school like everybody did. You died around till sewing up, baby. That you never stopped wearing. We go way back to 17, throwback skipping through a CDC sling way back, thinking we had one more week. You and me, we were supposed to outgrow each other like a sunburns out each summer. We know those clocks roll forward, but somehow we always find a way back. We always find a way back. Yeah, life's changed since I met you, but we grew up, grew back together. Yeah, I always say I hope that one day we'll be looking way back to 17, throwback skipping through a CDC sling way back, thinking we had one more week. You and me, we were supposed to outgrow each other like a sunburns out each summer. We know those clocks roll forward, but somehow we always find a way back. 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 Yeah, man.
That was great.
Thanks, bro.
Wow, that was a great vocal performance. Great,
Oh,
the whole performance. Wow, but you were really hitting those notes. That was epic to hear. Hell yeah! What's the next song you're gonna play for us?
I'm doing a song that is coming out tonight.
Oh,
It is
folks, you're hearing it here first.
It's my first ever Christmas song.
Oh, all right, yes.
And sometimes in my pictures, people think I'm like Elvis's son. So I'm doing an Elvis cover.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is Blue Christmas.
All right.
I'll have a blue Christmas without you. I'll be so blue just thinking about you. Decorations of red on a green Christmas tree won't be the same, dear, if you're not here with me. And when those blue snowflakes start falling, that's when those blue memories start calling. We'll be doing alright with your Christmas of white, but I'll have a blue Christmas. This is where you would do a guitar solo right here. We'll be doing
alright with your Christmas so white, but I'll have a blue, 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 blue Christmas. We'll be doing alright with your Christmas so white, but I'll have a blue, 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 blue Christmas.
All right.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, there's a little jazz in there.
Oh yeah, just a little
Major 7. All right. All right. Well, we will be back after another break with more questions. Keep sending them in. We're going to be asking more. It's going to be awesome. Stay tuned, folks. Hello, and welcome back to Off the Record Live. We're here with Riley Keegan, who just played 2 fantastic songs. And we're going to kick off this final portion of our show with some chat questions. Catherine, what are they?
Well, the first question we have after that performance is from TCB Everyday, who wants to know, what's your favorite Elvis song?
Ooh. Blue Christmas is up there. I like Blue Suede Shoes also. Oh, Can't Help Falling in Love with You. That's probably the best love song of all time. So let's go with that one.
Amazing.
I cover that one a little bit too, so I love that one.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. I'll sing it to you, Joe.
Yeah, all right. Y'all hear that? My dream.
My dreams are coming
Yeah,
true.
that's right. Catherine, what else we got?
Yes, we do have Squid Dog 1 in the chat who wants to know, what was the local scene or music venue where you started out? What type of places did you play? And how did that experience shape you as an artist?
So it was in Lexington, Kentucky when I got my first few gigs, and they were bar gigs. And I had the great fortune of probably meeting the best musician in Lexington, who became my band leader, and he was just like a rare find, like in the Lexington scene. You know, everybody who mostly moves to Nashville or New York City, or now I guess Austin and LA, and so where I came from, it was hard to find people who were like took it as serious as you wanted to take it.
Yeah.
Which is why I think most people end up moving. But played a bunch of those clubs and played like 3-hour, 4-hour cover gigs. You know, it was very forming, because even at that, when no one knows you, you've got to learn how to win the crowd. So it was very good.
Yes, you learn a lot from one 4-hour gig. Doing multiple, it's like an education.
It's tough.
Yeah,
It's very tough.
When you get into like, yes, I come from Phoenix, Arizona, and yeah, playing in like the bar scene around there, it's like, yeah, when you come up in like a bar scene where you have those nights where you got to make like a bar that maybe not even be a happening place, but you got to make it. You got to make it happen for 4 hours.
Yep.
Like, yeah, you learn everything about what gets people moving, and you also experience just a lot of weird stuff.
And coming up to my very first tour I ever did, they had me go out to North Dakota, and I drove 28 hours in a mid-sized truck, and I played to one person on a Tuesday night for 4 hours. And they did not clap one time.
Oh no!
And I knew that if I could get through that, I could do anything, and they were going to be fine.
Oh my gosh. My father is a musician in Arizona, and him and his friends who like play in the bar scene there, they had like a whole system that they used to play, like a game where like they would call like, if you had a show where no one claps, they called it like a no-hitter. Or actually, I think a show where no one claps is a perfect game. And then a no-hitter is a show where no one tips. Like this whole system.
Gosh,
and they would like keep track of it on their guitars. And
that's
like
hilarious.
if people play shows, they'd show you how many like times.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it was awesome. A whole little language.
That's funny.
Wow. Do we have any more questions from chat, Catherine? We do. Ooh, all right.
Have one from Music Fiend 124 who wants to know, what is your desert island album if you can only pick one to take with you?
Gosh. Can it be a greatest hits album? Music lover, whatever. What was the screen name?
Yes.
Music Fiend.
Music Fiend. Oh gosh.
How
how can you only choose one? What would you
Well,
choose?
I was gonna say, I'll give you power to pick a greatest hits if that's gonna make it better. Maybe even a compilation record, like a box set. You could get away with that.
Get away with anything here. There's no rules here, Music Fiend. There's no rules.
Yeah, you can pick a box set to an album.
Golly, that's hard. I don't want to say Continuum by John Mayer because it's just too obvious at this point after this interview. So I'm gonna say James Taylor Greatest Hits because I grew up. My mom had that CD and listened to it, and we bumped it all through, and it's been very inspirational to me over the years.
Yes, and that's music you can really live in.
You can live it.
All different aspects or times in your life. I mean, it speaks to the human condition in such a universal way.
Yeah, I feel like the best albums are the ones like on the 7th listen, you hear something new.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of records, I want to dive into yours a little bit. Well, we still got you. We got you for like another 14 minutes.
Perfect.
So I'm going to hold you here.
Come on.
And I'm going to ask about a few specific songs that really stood out to me as incredible. And the first one I want to start with is Our First Goodbye. Now, you were born while your birth mother was incarcerated, which led to you getting adopted when you were really young. And this song tells that story in such a beautiful, candid way. How did you come to write it? And what does it mean to you to be able to share this part of your story in such a beautiful and resonant way?
So it obviously means a lot to me. I had that title and the idea of the hook written down in my notes for a long time when I moved to town, knowing I wanted to write it and knowing I didn't want to waste it. So I didn't want to bring it to what I felt like was the wrong room or anything like that. I wanted to, and I can't believe it happened this way, but I wrote with Kyle Jacobs and Bryce Long, and they both had a number of hits and success, and they were very, enamored with my story that day. And Bryce had a similar family situation where he really connected with it too, and Kyle, his family has some adoption ties as well. I think his parents have adopted. And so they both really connected with that story. And I told them the hook idea and we just ran with it. Now normally I would say the best songs that I ever write are the ones that take 45 minutes or 30 minutes. They're just out. Just get it out. This one we were there from 10 a.m. till 7 p.m. Wow. Which is not normally how I would do it, but I was so thankful that we really honed in to try and craft that story.
Wow. Was that a process of trial and error with lyrics or just zooming it in and be changing words? What does it look
Everything. Changing words, melodies, that doesn't connect with me emotionally in a way. Or that's not the that's let's say that's not the truth or something. That's so changing it around until it resonates with me. Because here's the thing, if it resonates with me, then that means there's some form of truth with it. So other people will resonate with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. And so now, having gone through that process and even going through that process in a much more intensive way than you usually do, how does it feel for you to sing that song?
Oh, sometimes it's hard, man, because I have a great relationship with my parents who raised me, but I did get to meet my birth mom, and she recently did pass away, so I had to say goodbye to her twice, which is a hard but true part of the story. And sometimes it's really sad, man, because she was just a woman who wanted to do right by me, knew that I would have a better life if she gave me up, and I'm so grateful that she did. And so that song really is to honor her and then to honor my parents who raised me, to really, we really wanted to be careful about making sure that all parties were respected and honored, because I know it's sensitive for my parents who raised me, that obviously I met her and, but, I hopefully we did a good job of threading that line.
Yeah, well, everything I've been saying today, I mean, that extra level of care comes across. And so after the broadcast, go listen to it. It's very good. Now, something you mentioned talking about all that is a great kind of transition to another song I want to ask you about, which is Like My Daddy Was, which also tells part of your story from a slightly different angle, talking about this time your birth father, who I believe was a guitar player, right? Mm-hmm. And that was
He was.
one little piece of music that got in with you in your upbringing. But again, this is the same kind of situation where you're telling your story in such a beautiful, authentic, candid way. and I want to know about what that feels like and what it feels like to sing this song. But then on an extra level, you're right about these songs have a quality to them that even though they're telling your story and your specific narrative, they have this like universal truth to them. Well, I can imagine that a lot of people can listen to these songs and relate to them in their own ways, and there's something really powerful in that. And so what can you tell us about this tune and kind of that element of it all?
Yeah, so like my daddy was, that was a really fun, not fun, that was almost more emotional for me than our first goodbye. I wrote it with Autumn McIntyre, who's amazing. She's Reba's niece, and she's just a great writer. And really, yeah, she's really cool. And she, she wanted to tackle it. It was one of those things too. Is like the first day I met her, we did it, and I was like, that's such a writer thing, like to really dump truck on each other, like to tell you all the crazy emotional things in your past. And but for me, that song is about the redemption that I feel in my life and what I will be for my family and I think that's what resonates with people is like, I want to be, the lyric is steady as stone for my family when I have a family someday. And I don't want to be like my dad was, who ended up leaving, bouncing out on us. And, there's grace for everyone, but it's just like that song really, even though there's a form of like weight and heaviness to it, to me, it's more about redemption in my life when I'm singing it.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's got to be another really powerful one to kind of share and to be able to kind of see the way that different people can like react with that and they interface with it.
The number of messages for those two songs and emails and all of those from fans has been wild, because you never know how many people are adopted or have crazy family situations, man. It almost makes me emotional thinking about the amount of people that like go through a lot, and these songs, I feel like they've opened up the door for people to share that with me, and that's been a pretty rewarding experience.
Yeah, you're right, and that is such a powerful thing too, and it goes back to just the power of music in general, where even you as an artist, you didn't even necessarily have to write about those things or talk about this thing that is a lot more common than maybe people think, and then by doing that,
Yeah, and you said something really interesting. You said that even though these are specific stories, they kind of are universal, and I think that's interesting because I always say, like, every artist that I connect with, their songs seem to be more specific, and because to me that feels more real. Like,
yeah.
So I think it's funny that you said that.
Well, yeah,
it's like you find yourself in their stories somehow.
Yeah, it reveals the human condition. I mean,
Yes.
you can hear it, and even if it's a different situation, I know that feeling.
Yep.
I know, and it resonates, and that, it's one of those, like an artist like James Taylor, like we
Yes.
just mentioned, is amazing at that. Like a song like Fire and Rain,
Yep.
how many people have actually been in the exact situation he's talking about that song? Probably not as many people as who listen to that song and love it, and connect with it, and
You
really,
emotionally
really
resonate with it. There's like a feeling it gives you.
Yes.
It's funny.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Well,
My
I
dad
love
used to
hearing stuff like
sing that song to me to sleep.
Oh, really? That's a great.
That
wow.
and Sweet Baby James, yeah.
Yeah, my father used to sing me Sweet Baby James.
Sweet
it was
Baby
like one of
James,
like
man.
my childhood songs, and yes, I love it. Yeah, big shout out to Dave Vito.
Yeah,
the
Dave.
OG, yes, who also
The OG.
makes music. Yeah, look him up. It's great. Okay, another song I want to ask about on the record. This is kind of changing gears a little bit, but this comes back to just like amazing quality of songwriting, is Handyman. Now this song, folks, if you haven't heard it after the broadcast, you'll go listen to it. But it's got like this classic thing where like the whole first part of it, you're listening to it and you kind of think you know where the song's going, and then it gets to the hook, like kind of this like lyrical turnaround, and the song totally changes directions, but in such a clever way. And then it ends up becoming this like really kind of candid country song with that kind of like pop melody quality that we talked about earlier. Kind of being candid about yourself and being able to like analyze yourself and look at your own shortcomings. And there's a lot of power in that. So what can you tell us about this song and how it came to be?
Oh man, so that song just started out with me doing the piano thing that you hear at the beginning, like the bum 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 bum, and I was just messing around, and that came out, and I started singing a melody over it, and I wrote that song with Marshall Altman. And what I love about that song is if I was still playing the game in Nashville, that hook would not have been what it is. Which the hook is, I'll spoil it for you. It's basically, the song's called Handyman, and it's basically like a man, me, that can seemingly fix everyone else's problems besides his own, and how the hook is, wish it could be that easy to fix myself. And that is like me to a core. Like when I say like I'm very aware of the worst parts about me. That's part of being a 4 on the Enneagram. I'm very aware of that, and like the first time I meet you, I wouldn't be shy to tell you about the worst things about me. That's just my personality, and so that's
helps when you're writing songs.
It helps when you're writing songs. It's just like I value honesty and authenticity, and you know that's what that song is. It's very true. When I feel that, like when I sing that live, it's like, oh, I feel that. I still feel it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's got to be an amazing feeling to have songs where you can feel that, and even to that end. I mean, do you find that even like knowing things about yourself becomes easier when you're able to like write a song about it? Like once you kind of wrote that song, were you able to think about that quality of your own personality in more concrete terms, or have like a vocabulary to like?
Yeah, the vocabulary is what I would say. Like you've put words to something you felt all along, is what I would say.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a beautiful, powerful thing. Wow. So let's see. What do I got here? I'm at like the bottom, like it gets like when you look at my
bottom
list
of the barrel.
Questions. Yeah, well, it's not the bottom of the barrel, but it starts getting into like, if I have time, all these like random things I want to ask about. We got about 4 minutes. I do want to ask about what the recording process for this record was like, and specifically, I know that you mentioned earlier when we first brought it up that you started working on it in 2019, and obviously it's the end of 2021 right now. So a lot happened in between then. What has that been like to kind of have this process unfold during this like paradigm shift in world existence and reality? And what does it mean to you to have these songs that have like endured that whole time, and now you're being able to share them with the world and give them their time in the sun?
Yeah, man, it's special, but it's special because I'm still proud of it. And normally, when I'll release a song and hate it like 2 weeks later. But that's just because I'm me. And but with this, man, I'm still really proud of it. And a lot has changed for me. I mean, I got gifted a piano, so I started writing on the piano more over the pandemic. And but still, I feel like sonically and song-wise, this is still me right up my alley, you know. And I'm glad that it exists and people can listen and connect.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
Absolutely. That's so beautiful. I have one last question for you today, which is, how do you feel now, and what's next to you? My last question was 2 questions. I was a little sneaky.
How do I feel right now?
Yeah.
I feel good. I had a smoothie.
All right. Yes.
Coffee. No, I feel great. I've been really blessed by the fan response to this album, and I may or may not have a project in the works that's may or may not be dealing with some location. It's a concept record.
Whoa.
And it may or may not have something to do with locations. And I may or may not have ever talked about it till now. But it should be, I think you'll dig it based on what you've told me on like what you like.
All right.
Yeah.
That's very exciting. Well, you at home may or may not be digging it as well at some point in the near future. We're at just about the end of our time today. I do want to say that you're getting some great comments coming in from the chat. Like Squid Dog 1, a great viewer of ours, very loyal, has said that, Raleigh, you're so talented and your authenticity comes through. Your life story is incredible and you have made a fan here. Good luck in all you do.
Well, heck yeah, Squid Dog 1.
That's so
Not
sweet.
2. Not 2.
Which I guess
He
someone
is
must
Squid
have
Dog
taken
numero uno.
just Squid Dog, which R.I.P.
Someone took, yeah.
Whoever's out there with
Where's
just
the real Squid Dog?
Yeah, we'll take it. Oh my gosh. And yeah, which has been so great talking with you today.
You too, man. You're a great guy.
Hey,
that was fun.
Thank you. It's been really fun doing this. I want to thank 3 Sirens here in East Nashville for hosting us in the Brick and Mortar. This really is an incredible space, and just being in this vibe in this room, it has like an energy, which is so fun to be here and get to use this space. I want to thank Twitch and American Songwriter for being our digital hosts in the cyber sphere. I want to thank all the people who bring this show together. I want to wish a happy birthday to Levi, who helps bring our show to life every week. Y'all may not know him, but he is a huge part of this program and makes it come together every time, and always mics me up, so you wouldn't even be able to hear me if it wasn't for Levi. So wish him a happy birthday. And thank you, Riley
man.
Keegan, for stopping by and speaking with us. It's been
course,
such
bro.
a delight.
Thank you.
Folks, I'm Joe Vito for American Songwriter. Thank you for watching. I love you. Good night.